In this channel's first ever interview, today we have the founder of Buffs Culture, one of the most credible and reliable CU sports content pages out there with over 1,000 posts and 10,000 followers. But first, welcome in Buffs fans and thanks for tuning in to Buffs Banter, presented by Believe Network. I'm the host, Dean Frank, and before we get into the interview, make sure to follow and subscribe to us on all platforms at Buffs Banter. We'll be posting shows twice a week so you don't miss a thing about any updates with CU sports all year long. All right, let's get right into it. The man of the hour, Mr. Buffs Culture himself, Alex. Thanks for being here. How's it going? Would love to introduce yourself real quick.
Yeah, I'm Alex. I run the Buffs Culture page. Thank you so much for having me on. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, man, this is awesome. What inspired you to start covering CU sports?
I've always kind of had a passion for like the creative like video editing aspect of stuff. Um, and there was another CU page that I used to follow way back when that kind of just stopped posting stuff, and I was just kind of like, I feel like I could do it myself. So just decided, to do it as a side kind of thing, and it's taken off way farther than I ever thought that it would. So,
Yeah, man, you've been blowing up. I mean, I just remember before even starting my page, it's like any update, you were right there, right? You were the first one that I saw. What has been your most memorable experience covering this team?
um, I would say just the whole craziness with Coach Prime, and then the March Madness run this year for the basketball team as well.
Sweet. So we got some background out of the way. Let's get into why everyone here is listening. This team this year. Off the bat, I need to know your predictions for our win total this year.
I've been teetering between 8 and 9. Um, I think the back end of the schedule is really, really tough. And I don't know if the team's going to be worn down by then. Obviously, depth was an issue last year. I think that should be better this year, but obviously, still kind of a question mark. And I mean, obviously, we got Kansas, Oklahoma State, Arizona, Utah, all at the end of the schedule, who are just really the top tier, the Big 12, in my opinion. So I think I have us going, I think winning every game before then, but I think right now looking at losing 3 or 4 of those games.
I mean, yeah, that would be a huge win in our book. Like to
Yeah.
me, it's hard because and obviously just a couple years ago we're a one-win team, and then us being a four-win team this past year is still a huge step, and people just don't realize like we still have so much hate just because
Mhm.
we were just 4-8, but it's like come on, man, 400% increase in just a year. That's why like I know for like with you too, like my ceiling for this team can definitely be 8 or 9 wins, but
Mhm.
if it comes down to it, we make a bowl game 6 wins, like that's still definitely a dub in my book. It's just everything is so amplified with all this media
Mhm.
going on, all the
Yep.
media exposure.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like when you're looking at in terms of a rebuild, I mean, yeah, 1 to 4 wins, that's exactly what you want to look for. And then now, obviously, this year you want to make a bowl game. So see what happens.
Right. And there's, I mean, it's also just so unprecedented with this whole new conference change, and we've never really played against half of these teams. So there's just so much unsureties. Like it can be that 8 to 9 win season, like we really think it can be, because we know the potential of these new transfers and the team we have now. But at the same time, it's like I don't want to, just like last year when we were 3-0, it's like okay, like we're going to be a ranked team for the rest of the year. But
Mhm.
in some ways, I feel like this year it's a little more slowed down, as in, which is a good thing. I think even us being ranked in the media poll 11th in the Big 12, at first I was pretty heated because I'm like, okay, keep sleeping on us, but at the same time, the underdog route might be a little better for Shedeur and company, just because people really aren't expecting too much from us, even though they still are. But at the same time, it's like if we end up getting 6 wins, no one's really going to be like, oh, that was a waste of a year.
Right, right. Yeah, I agree.
Sweet. So I saw just a couple days ago you came out with your Buffs top 10 players of the year. I saw
Mhm.
you left out a couple key names such as McKinney, Seaton, Trevor Woods, Jimmy Horn. I was wondering if you could just talk us through that top 10.
Yeah. Yeah, just starting at the bottom. I think you could definitely make an argument for Jimmy Horn and DJ McKinney to be in there. I just think with McKinney, I wouldn't say the production is quite where I would think or where it could warrant him for me to be in the top 10. Um, Horn, honestly, like you can make the argument. I wouldn't be upset with it at all. It's just kind of the odd man out on that. I think Justin Mayers is going to be really good this year. The guard we got out of, I think, UTEP. Um, and then obviously Shiloh, very productive safety last year. Looking to see some improvement on tackling, in my opinion, but obviously very good player. And then, yeah, just going up, you got the two pit edges with Hayes and Okunlula. I think they're going to be great this year. Really, really needed that on the edge. And then you get the really good players like Will Shepard, I think is going to be great. Um, Being a Mizzou fan, I've seen him at Vandy the last couple of years, and he's a very good player. And Preston Hodge, I feel like, is honestly one of the more underrated transfers we've gotten. Like you hear a lot of talk about the wide receivers and the edges, but no one really mentions him, even though he's like outstanding PFF grade wise, and like legitimate NFL prospect. I think he'll be fantastic for us this year, along with BJ Green as well. I think very highly regarded transfer rating wise, like on 247 and on three. And LeJontay Wester, I think, is also maybe not as underrated amongst the Buffs community, but I think he's going to be a dog for us this year. I believe he was an All-American as a punt returner for FAU, and just very productive over there. And I think when you pair him with Shedeur, who's just an amazing quarterback, should be an exciting year. And obviously, you got Shedeur and Travis at the top of that list.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, the 1 and 2 is interchangeable, but I,
Yeah.
I, I definitely agree. I mean, I'm so excited just with seeing all these upgrades with the transfer portal and whatnot, us being the top school by far in 41 transfers. It's just there's so many new names and so much new talent. Like we don't know what's going to happen. It's super
Yep.
fun to watch. Is there a certain position, um, or I guess individual as well that you think we upgraded the most at this offseason?
I think you got to go offensive line, right? I mean, that was a rough watch last year, and I think you can maybe beside center. I think that might be a bit of a wash or a slight downgrade. I think you can say we heavily upgraded across the board on offensive line.
I know if we could just give Shedeur a little bit more time. It was so tough. I mean, just being at every game last season, and it's like, oh, get rid of the ball, get rid of it, because he only has like probably 2-3 seconds before he gets pressured. So if we can give Shedeur that time, I think we're gonna see because last year when he had that time, I think he had like a 95% efficient rating, and like when he has the time, I think we probably have one of the best offenses in the league, at least skill positions. I mean, we know even wide receivers on its own, we probably have a top 10 wide receiver group
Yep.
like no other. So I think if we can give Shedeur that time, only great things will happen. Um, Kind of a little, I guess, a little more specific, but do you have any biggest hot takes for this upcoming season?
Um, I would say my one hot take is that I think Shador is going to make a legitimate play for the Heisman Trophy. I mean, he was sacked 50 times last year. If you can get that down to even like 30, which is still a fairly high number, but if you still get it to 30, that's so much more time. He's got, as you said, I'd say a legitimate top 10, maybe even top 5 receiving core in the country. And just very talented across the board offense. And I think that could really show this year.
Sure. I mean, I know it's just a video game, but he's ranked at the top for a reason, ranked
That's
93
right.
overall with Carson Beck as well. But I think people don't realize on his own, obviously it's a team effort, but skill position on his own, he's at the top with the best of them.
Hmm. That's right. That's right. I agree.
I forgot to ask you this too, but is there any secret to your success with just being so up to date with all the updates?
Um, since I've ran it for a long time, I've been fortunate to build some connections on the inside aspect of football and basketball. So sometimes I have a heads up on what's happening and just have posts ready to go, but also just happening to be on my phone or near it when the news drops and quickly post it out.
Yeah, there you go. I recently just got onto Twitter and like it's life changing. I do not know how I ran a sports media content page and was not on Twitter beforehand because now I got all the notifications, I got all the updates, so it's like right away.
Yep,
Bang.
yep.
And then I see, so do you just use like the same template every time for your graphics, like when it's like the breaking news or whatnot?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, normally if I don't know or haven't heard of anything coming beforehand, just use that, but, sometimes if there's a lot of buzz that I hear beforehand, can put a little committed, graphic beforehand on it.
Yeah, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
That's
I
right,
think you're
that's
doing
right.
great, man. I definitely
Thank
respect
you.
there. Do you have any, I don't know, any more inside information on just how to build that sort social media page and just how you've been able to get more exposure over the time?
Yeah, I would just say one of the biggest things is just finding your area in like, for you guys' instance, like, finding your area in Buffs media, and I
Yep.
think with the podcast clips and just the podcast in general is a great idea because you don't really see anyone else doing that, and just finding your specialty in that, and then, just putting your name out there, Instagram, Twitter, wherever you can. I think, the more outreach you have, the better it'll show for your page.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think also it's just consistency, right? I mean,
Yeah,
people
exactly.
so easily can just give up and like, oh, you didn't get enough views on that thing, give up. So I think that's something we're really trying to push here, but I appreciate that. Are you trying to come out to any games this year or anything?
We'll see, we'll see. I'm trying to come home at least one time this fall. I was kinda looking at the K-State game just because that would line up well with, Mizzou's schedule, but we'll see if all goes well and we make a bowl game or, maybe even the playoffs, that would be cool
Yeah.
to try and get
Oh,
to as well.
you got to, man. I'm sure you could even somehow get a media pass or whatnot.
That would be awesome, yeah, definitely have to look into it.
Yeah. I guess to cap it off, like what would you say your like dream job would be? I know you still got some time, but like in that sports world, what would you want to be? Like what do you see as a future there?
I think getting into sports marketing would be awesome. I'm sure you're looking at that as well with marketing. But yeah, I think just anything in the sports world would be really cool. Maybe not in the journalism side, but we'll see where it takes me. So,
No, that's funny. I'm actually exactly what you're saying. Like I've had a
really,
couple internships with sports marketing. It's kind of like just with NIL deals and everything going on, I'm going to be helping out with the 5430
oh
Lions.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Very
So
cool.
yeah, just creating brand deals, making partnerships with the players, reaching
Mhm.
out to brands. It's super fun because it's a never-ending world now with all the money in college. So it's super cool to see and help out the players as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome, man.
I appreciate you. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time, man. I appreciate you for joining on. This was our first interview here at Buffs Banter. This was awesome, man. I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you guys for having me.
Yep. Thanks everybody for tuning in to the number one students ran podcast here at the University of Colorado Boulder. Make sure to follow and subscribe to our show to stay updated as we chop up everything going on with Colorado football this season.